Hey, what's up, guys? This is Clint, and what I have today is another one of my quick hitter videos. Again, short, 5-10 minute type video on some specific strategies that you can add into your game or help improve your game right away. And for today's topic, what I'm talking about in general is how do you play? I'll get into specifically what that means, but I have a pretty big Skype group. I've got about 150 people in my Skype group, and I've staked literally over the past 4 years thousands of players. And there's always the conversation of, what software do you use? Do you tile or do you stack? How do you study your game? What games do you play? These are very common questions that many people have, especially if you're just starting or really trying to improve your game. These are things that you want to learn from other people who are doing things successfully, and maybe mimicking them, or just making sure that you're doing things correctly. But there are some common questions that are always tossed in our Skype chat and always brought to me, and I wanted to address those, and address those in the sense of just in general tips that I've seen work personally and with other players as well. And at the end of this, I'll talk about what strategies I specifically use in my own game while grinding. So why don't we jump right into it? So, how do you play? These are some of the questions that we're going to be answering. What games do you play? What software do you use? Do you tile, cascade, or stack? That's such a common one. Everybody always asks that. Do you take notes and color code? And how do you study and review? So let's take those one by one. What games do you play? Everybody always asks at some point, should I go play the 180-mans? Should I play the 9-mans? Or the 18-mans better? What games are better to play? The answer is I really don't know. I mean, certainly I would say the 180-mans traditionally have probably provided the most dollar per hour profit on average for most players. Now, if you're sitting there as a Supernova Elite Hyper Turbo grinder, you probably think otherwise. So it's a lot of things are based upon volume and then the ROI of the game that you're playing. But what I want to say is that there's no real one specific answer. There's professional 9-man grinders, there's professional 180-man grinders, and then there's 18-man grinders who play professionally. It really comes down to a game that you like to play, that maybe fits your lifestyle in terms of do you like shorter games or longer games, but just really mastering it. If you're a 180-man guy and you want to get into those, go and master that game, because regardless of what game you choose, you can make a living in it. If your goal is to make a living from poker. I mean, if you're a part-time player, again, pick a game that you like, because really nothing makes us happier while playing than making money. And our goal is to make money, increase our ROI, and improve as a player, and hopefully move up stakes as well. So I'm not going to sit here and tell you that you need to play 9-mans or you need to play 18-mans or 45-mans or whatever you want to play. But pick a game and master it. Too many times I see people, they fall victim to this, the grass is always greener syndrome, meaning they'll be playing a certain game, they'll really like it, let's say we're playing 9-mans, and then all of a sudden they hit a downswing. They say, oh, you know what, this game isn't working, I'm going to go try the 18-mans. I hear people are doing really well in the 18-mans. Those are the games that I'm going to play. They try the 18-mans, things don't go as well. Oh, I see there's this guy who's playing 180-mans and he's making $5,000 a month, and that's what I want to do. So they're always jumping from game to game, and typically what causes that are downswings. They always test our confidence. So what I would suggest is just pick a game and fight through it and master it. Because if you're always jumping from game to game, every game has different strategies, different ICM considerations that, if you're not confident in your strategy, constantly changing up is not going to help. So pick a game, master it, and then once you've mastered it and you're really confident in your strategy, and you're really confident in your overall game, and you handle tilt well, and you have good bankroll management, then you can start mixing in other games. I mean, myself, I love mixing in other games. I don't just stick to one game and one game only. I like to play 6-max, and then 9-mans, and then jump in the 45s, and maybe play some MTTs. So I like to mix it up. But I'm at the point now where I'm very confident in my strategy, and I know how to adapt from game to game. But when I first started, for a long time, all it was were just 9-mans. 9-mans, 9-mans, 9-mans. And then I learned them, I beat them, and then I moved to 18-mans, and they became my favorite game. So that's how you want to start. or if you're trying to improve. Pick a game, master it. What software do you use? Software, there's always new pieces of software that are coming out that seem all bright and shiny, and they're instantly going to make you a winning player. And in reality, that's not the case. Software does help, and I do recommend software. But I think what people do is they jump. I think what happens is people jump way too fast into the software, and I think it actually hinders most people's progress because they're so focused on getting the software issues correct or making sure they have the latest software to automate things and thinking that automation and a lot of tables is how you make money. It is, but only after you've perfected your strategy. So there's a lot of software out there, like I said. There's Hold'em Manager, Poker Tracker, Table Ninja, Note Caddy. Then obviously within Hold'em Manager you have all these other types of widgets and software, and there's this is only a couple. There are tons and tons of different software programs out there that are vying for your dollar, and you have to choose which ones you want to buy. Do you buy them all because they all seem like they have some great tool or use that's going to help your game? Keep things simple, guys. I would say definitely in today's day and game, get one of the trackers, Hold'em Manager or Poker Tracker. Learn to use it and play with it. Constantly be playing with it, get it to the way you want, and again, master it. Like I said, the biggest problem that I'm seeing for players that are just starting out or looking to improve is overdoing it with software. Software is not going to make you a winning player all of a sudden. It can enhance an already winning player, but if you're really struggling, you need to be focusing on your strategy and not automation type of software. So, like I said at the bottom here, learn before you start automating things. And I says I hate TN, I hate Table Ninja. A lot of people love Table Ninja, and I get its benefits, but I'll talk to you about why I dislike Table Ninja in general. I'll get into that in a second. Do you tile, cascade, or stack? Obviously, this isn't the biggest slide or most informative slide in the world. The question is, this is totally up to you. Pick what's comfortable. I'll talk about what I did and what I did and what I do. I play more on the U.S. sites now, so I don't have as many tables running as I used to. But in general, pick what's comfortable. Again, don't think the grass is always greener type of situation. Pick one, master it. If you like stacking, stack. I know plenty of guys that are professional players and that grind for a living, that tile, and some that cascade, and some that stack. It's pretty much all what you start out with and what you become comfortable with. But that's the point. Become comfortable with one, stick with it, and master it. Do you take notes in color code? This is probably one of my biggest pet peeves. I think when people get Hold'em Manager and Poker Tracker and they have their HUD stats, they think they don't have to take notes anymore or color code. And that's the furthest thing from the truth. You don't want to rely on that automation, or even if you had Note Caddy. Learn to take notes and color code manually as you're playing. Have abbreviations. Because if you're playing against very similar guys every single day, your notes are going to be invaluable. Yes, the HUD stats are going to be nice. They see that they're 16-14 and their 3-bet versus steal is 13%. That's all well and good. But nothing can replace having a specific hand that guy played in a very specific situation. He 3-bet my button raise with, 7-5 offsuit. Nothing can tell you how a guy is going to be playing against you than by identifying specific hands in specific situations. And again, you want to do it quickly, so you want to have an abbreviation system, because as you start to add tables, obviously note-taking and color coding becomes a little bit more difficult, but you should still be doing it. And as far as color coding, it can be something simple. And this is what I did for a long time. I labeled people, sometimes people say, don't call people fish or whatever. This is what I call the bad losing player. I labeled the fish as green, the reg as orange, a top reg, the best of the best, as red, and wild card, meaning maybe a guy, his results were up and down. He's not a real losing player, but not a winning player either. I labeled him as purple. And if you understand how a reg is supposed to play, just knowing whether somebody's a reg or losing player can tell you so much about how you should play a particular hand against them in a particular situation. But again, that's when you start getting comfortable with the basic winning strategy. So have those systems in place. And also go back to some of the videos I've made in the past about color coding and note-taking. It's so important in your daily grind, and that's really how you can increase your profitability. is by having more information on the players you're playing against every single day. How do you study and review? Again, another common question. What do you have to help you improve your game? There's a lot of tools out there. I definitely recommend getting an ICM calculator. These are probably the three most common. ICMizer is probably the new guy on the street. Well, it's been around for a couple years now, but it's new and compared to like Sit and Go Wizard. This is probably the most popular now again with the with the professional players because you can do some cooler things compared to Sit and Go Wizard. Sit and Go Wizard's a little bit outdated in terms of what you can do, but I still use it personally. It still gets the job done. And Hold'em Resources Calculator is another one similar to ICMizer in terms of doing some more Nash stuff. But pick one and get it. It's not going to hurt you, but learn how to use it. Definitely learn how to use it. I made a video on using Sit and Go Wizard and ICM calculators, so find that one. Learn how to use it. Learn what the common errors are that people make with them. And like I said, watch videos. Watch what myself and the other people out there making videos, the other top players. They're doing things correctly. They're using these calculators. Learn what they're doing, and really just mimic them. Mimic what they're doing in their study techniques and how they're using these calculators. And also, get a study buddy. Join a poker Skype group. Like I said, I have a Skype group that has over 150 people in it. If you want to join my group, just send me a private message, and you can join my group. And it's a great way to connect with other players, ask questions, post hands. It's another great community to join to get real live feedback from other players that are maybe in your situation. Maybe you're just getting started and trying to improve, or successful grinders that are doing this thing day in and day out and winning and crushing the games. All right. Now here's how I play. So we took all those questions, and I'll kind of sum them up into what I do. And I'm in the minority here. Everybody thinks I'm kind of weird the way I play. But this is how I started out, and this is what I got used to, and I think is what made me a pretty good player in terms of being able to really adapt to players and try to attain the highest ROI in whatever game I'm playing. I tile 16 to 20 tables on a laptop. I don't have 2 and 3 screens. If you do, that's great. I never had that. I just kind of have the 17-inch laptop sitting here right on the table. And yes, I get a ton of overlap. But for me, the reason why I tile, I need to be able to click around and see what's going on at the other tables. Anytime I can get any sense of information about another player, I want to take that note. So even if I'm on one table and I see something going on another table, this is what I talk about at going and taking notes. I'll take a note really quick if I see something. So I'm just trying to constantly get notes and information on players. And tiling, even with overlap, helps me do that, because even though I can't necessarily see 100% of every single table on the screen, I can easily click through the tables. If I try to stack, I'm the biggest fish in the world. And I know there's other people that stack with no problem, and they can't tile. So that's why I said it's very personal preference for what you do. I find tiling, for me, works great. I use Hold'em Manager 1. I still have used, I have Hold'em Manager 2. I still like 1. I still use Sit and Go Wizard, and I also have Cardrunners EV. If you've seen my videos, you know I like to use that a lot. If you're, again, just starting out, I don't recommend getting Cardrunners EV right away. It's kind of a very advanced tool. It can be a little bit cumbersome to try to put calculations in there, but ICMizer, Sit and Go Wizard, stuff like that will get the job done for your basic calculations. And after your games, go in and use those calculators. When I was just starting and learning, I was watching videos, I was seeing what other guys were doing, and how they were using the calculators, and then I'd be done a session, and I would just start pumping hands into the game, or into the calculators, and seeing what it spits out, and just playing around with it. I would play around with it manually. Well, what if I, tighten up his calling range? What if I do this? What if I do that? That's how I was doing it. But I would also say that I was more focused on playing and then learning after. I think sometimes people are so focused on studying and getting things 100% correct with their strategy before even playing that they're studying for 4 hours and only playing for 2 hours. Whereas I think that should be the reverse. Play for 4 to 6 hours and then go study for an hour or two, so that you understand how certain strategies work while playing in game and not just using theory and what you've seen with other players. I don't use Table Ninja or any other hotkeys. I'm playing 16 to 20 tables on a laptop, and I don't have a mouse. I just have the the pad here with on my laptop. So I don't use Table Ninja or any hotkeys. The reason I don't is because I don't want things automated. There are sometimes I don't want to make a min raise. Sometimes I want to go 2.5. Sometimes I want to go 2.2. Sometimes I don't want my C bet to be exactly 50% of the pot. And that's what I think a lot of people do is when they're automating is when I'm doing hand history reviews with players, they say, well, why did you bet this big here, this small? Well, that was what my automation hotkey was set to. Well, that may be okay if your strategy is perfect and your game is airtight and you want to play 30 or 40 tables. Totally fine. I get that. No, that you're lowering your edge a little bit, but you're increasing your dollar per hour. But if you're really struggling to get a higher ROI, get a positive ROI, be profitable, don't rely on automation right away. Learn the different strategies. Learn how to adapt for your players. Change up your bet sizing. I always am seeing what's the optimal bet sizing for this specific scenario. And that's where I really dislike Table Ninja and automation and hotkeys, is that I don't want a 50% pot bet. I don't want min raise to always be my default play. I want to adapt to the player and adapt to the situation and make bet sizing work accordingly. Now, if you can eliminate all that with Table Ninja and the hotkeys, that's great. Because the one thing I do like about those programs is the automatic time bank, stuff like that, where it helps prevent you from timing out. I think that's cool. So if you can eliminate all the other stuff and just use the time bank, I think that's fine. But if you are really just starting out, lower your amount of tables and work on your strategy, work on adapting the players, work on your bet sizing, and concentrating and thinking about what you're doing. Table Ninja and these hotkeys eliminate the thinking. Thinking is key. Okay, again, if you watch a lot of videos, I talk about exploiting players, what they're doing at the table, and how to use that against them. Thinking at the table, and Table Ninja and those hotkeys, they take that away from you. So only use those when your strategy and your game and you're confident, when you're really airtight. Take notes like crazy. Again, I use Hold'em Manager, I use the HUD, I'm really into using those stats, but I'm still taking notes like crazy. I want to know exactly what players are 3-betting me with, shoving all in. If I see a reg do something weird, I want to take that note, because a stat might not tell me that. If they do something really weird or 3-bet me in a really weird spot that I didn't expect, I want to take that note. So take notes like crazy. And I always have SharkScope open. I have a subscription to SharkScope. I do recommend it, getting a SharkScope subscription. I think it's something as cheap as like even $10 or something, $20 either a month for like a couple hundred searches a day, or you can get like their search package. I think it's like 200 total searches. Whatever it is, look into it, because just looking up whether somebody's a winning player or losing player can tell you an awful lot about how to play against somebody. Again, if you just started a sit and go and you have ace king and you raise from an early position and somebody 3-bets you and you don't have a stat on them yet because maybe you've never seen them before, and you look them up on SharkScope and you see that he's a massive winning player, well, what does that tell you about the early stages of a sit and go, that he's 3-betting your under the gun raise? His range is probably pocket queens plus and maybe ace king, maybe not even ace king. But if you look up the player and he's lost $50,000 over the past year, then that might tell you, what, ace king is probably good here. This guy could be 3-betting me with all sorts of crap. He's insane. So just knowing whether somebody's a winning or losing player is very helpful. And this is what I always used to do. I always want to know who are the winning players, who are the losing players at my table. And I would know what a winning player is supposed to do and what a losing player typically does. And I can use that information to my advantage. Again, information is key, guys. Anything that can give me more information. So final tips. If you're just starting out and trying to get profitable, get rid of all the fancy stuff, the hotkeys, lower your tables, work on your strategy, avoid the automation, and get your game airtight. Avoid the leaks, learn not to tilt, and have confidence in your game so that when the inevitable downswing hits, that you're not just dropping, or not, sorry, not just dropping, that you're not losing confidence in your strategy and starting fiddling around with things. The best players know that downswings happen and they keep fighting through and they don't change their strategy, and they're not also afraid to lower tables to really focus on their game to make sure there's no leaks. So only when you are comfortable with your game and have proven profitable results and you're out there crushing your games, then you can start adding in tables using the automation type of software like Table Ninja to increase your dollar per hour. But until then, it might be hindering you rather than hurting you. So hopefully some of these tips, these are questions that you've had rattling around. Maybe you fall into some of these categories. If you have questions, message me anytime. You want to join the Skype group, be sure to send me a private message, and I can add you into the Skype group. But with that being said, good luck at the tables, guys. Really focus on your game. Look at your strategy, and strategy first, automation second. All right, guys? Good luck at the tables.